Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Live from Columbus, Ohio, It's Motown Downtown!
Motown Downtown, come on down to Motown Downtown.
Today's guest, Edo Ninja.
Come on down to Motown Downtown.
My name is Tyson Bruda, and here's your host, Mo Chocolate.
Come on down to Motown Downtown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Motown Downtown Season 3.5, where we are here to make sure that you have a wonderful time and the greatest time. That's right. That is right. What's up, everybody in chat? Hi, Drew. Hi, Dark. Hi, everybody else lurking and watching right now. Thank you for the shout-outs. Thank you, and to our new followers. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. So, let's welcome today's very special guest, shall we? Drum roll, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a legend on the show today. A man who's been pumping out content for many, many years. He is a cosplayer, a producer, and the founder of the Phantom Visionaries. Arguably one of, if not the best companies for content creators. So, give it up for the Drip Master himself, Edo Ninja! There he is, the legend himself. What's up, King?
Salutations, friends. Hello. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing today?
Man, that was so spot on, Edo. I've been doing the show for a long time, and that's the first time I've ever said someone's name right at the end of the drum roll. So, already we are off to a great start. But yes, thank you, Edo, for coming out here tonight. I know how busy you are. I know you barely sleep. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here to Motown Downtown. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure of mine and such. And of course, thank you for the invitation and everything. And, you know, I'm very happy that I was able to make time to talk about this tonight with you. So I'm just ready to get right into it to you and such. So, yeah, I'm looking
awesome
forward to
sauce. And by the way, everybody watching, please tell me how the audio levels are. Is Edo too low, too loud? Am I too low, too loud? Please tell me and I will do the right adjustment. So, first question is, for anyone watching right now who has no idea who you are, tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, Lord. It's been a long time since I've been asked this question for a long time. But I'm a lot of things, and that's probably not, like, the most appropriate answer that I could really give. But let's see. I'm a content creator. I am a streamer. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a video editor. As you've heard earlier, I'm also a producer of the sort and such. There is a lot that I have in my belt that I've been carrying for a very long time. 11 years, in fact. This June will be 12 years.
Wow.
So,
props.
but I guess I should say the most important thing is that I am the CEO of the Phantom Visionaries, and especially as to what the Phantom Visionaries is essentially basically like a multimedia production content house, and also essentially basically branding services to any kind of, like, you know, talent of the sort. So I think that's the one thing that I just wanted to get that out of the way, though. But I'm a creative at heart, and I'm also a businessman.
Nice. And I see we have a few of your friends already in the chat. Hello. Thank you for coming by. Thank you. So, tell us how you got into video games, Edo. Were you team PlayStation, Nintendo, or Sega back in the day?
Oh, man, this question. Oh, Lord. This is a painful question. I'm going to tell you this right now because, growing up, at least, I have two sisters, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember that, my family, they gifted us, essentially, a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, SNES.
Nice.
So that's what we had initially and stuff like that. So, but I will say, like, for the entire time that, like, I've grown up, we've only had Nintendo consoles and PlayStation consoles. No other consoles in this house, ever.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I guess you guys can already get the impression of, yeah, fuck Xbox, I'm sorry. But, yeah, we don't tolerate their kind here. No, not allowed.
Facts.
But yeah, no. But going back to the whole Nintendo the SNES thing. So essentially, I had it was basically the Super Mario World game that
Mm-hmm.
I had. And it was probably like I think the only game that we had and such at the time. So yeah, I just remembered that like I think we got it for like probably like it was around like my birthday or Christmas. It was around that time frame. I don't remember. I was a baby, but I do know that that was the first video game that I did play ever growing up. So so essentially, like I guess like at first like Nintendo, it was like the first thing that like we always had, and then like we just branched over to PlayStation and such at some point and such. But we went from SNES, and then we got the GameCube and stuff like that, and like anything that falls within the Nintendo family and such. And then for the PlayStation, we started off from like the PlayStation 2 family and such.
Nice.
I wasn't really super into PlayStation at the time
Mm-hmm.
until I was introduced with this series. Well, as most of you guys are familiar with Kingdom Hearts and such. So
Yep.
so essentially, that's kind of as to like how I've been dabbling between the two growing up and such. So, but if I had to choose, if I had to actually make a choice here, I will have to say probably I'm kind of Team Nintendo at the end of the day because that was
Nice.
like my longest commitment to. So, and it has not changed since then and such. So, same thing with PlayStation though, but it's like I was more familiar with Nintendo, so I had to like give props and respect to the company that actually shaped me up to some parts of the stuff that I do today.
Same here, man. Without Nintendo, I would never have been a gamer, fact. So shout out to Nintendo for real. Now, what were some of your favorite games growing up?
Ooh, favorite games growing up. So, I will say definitely huge shout out to Super Mario Sunshine. That was my first ever GameCube game that I actually had. And honestly, I just kept playing that game. That was like one of my biggest like addictions I had growing up. So anytime that I see slander or some form of just a wrong opinion on that game, trust me, I will come after you and I will skill tech you. I will skill tech you because I grew up with that game. I may not be a speedrunner. I will say that right now. I was not a speedrunner, but I know the ins and outs of that game like crazy. So it's like if I hear a complaint, I'm gonna check you for it. But
Facts.
that was one game that I enjoyed so much, and then the other one that I also enjoyed, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. That I think that one was my first ever turn-based game that I played, and honestly, like I remember I was also like very addicted to playing that and such. And honestly, it's so funny, especially that that game got a remaster onto the Nintendo Switch. And there were still some things that I didn't even know about, despite the fact that I replayed that game more than at least like 7 to 8 times around that point. So, yeah, so Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, definitely a huge love for that game. And another one I had to, I definitely need to talk about this because I feel like we do not have enough conversations about this game. But Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Yes.
I love Wind Waker.
Shout out to Sid Lexia.
So true. I actually did not know that a lot of people were very skeptical of Wind Waker when it was first dropped and such. But then again, maybe it's because that I was just too young to even know about that. But that was my first ever Zelda game that I actually got into. And ever since then, like I even like I loved it so much. I even have like a hoodie of Toon Link, but basically of like his outfit and stuff like that. Like I have that, and it's for me like my biggest mood, my biggest everything and such. And hopefully Nintendo makes the right decision onto porting the actual Wii U remaster, because I mean I'm happy that it's coming back. However, I will not accept that we're only getting that quote-unquote emulation of it. I need that remaster now.
Facts.
But yeah, so that's another one that I will say. And then I guess like 2 more games that I will like, name right off the bat. I'm sure you guys could already guess. I was a big Mario head growing up. But I guess another one would be the Mario Party games, especially within the GameCube family. That's my shit. That was my everything.
Amazing.
And I just loved everything about it from 4 to 8. Gorgeous. Or at least, I think it was 7, I believe. I think 8 was like when it started to transition to the Wii though. But anything that was in the GameCube family, that was my jam. Especially 5 through 7. That was me. But for 4, barely got into it, but I still loved it anyways.
Amazing.
So the Mario Party games, I will say that was my big thing. And then of course the last thing, and I have to give the respect to this game, Melee. Smash
Melee.
So
Oh,
yeah,
that Melee.
yeah, no, that I will say, like, I think Melee was like the biggest like awakening for me in terms of like me getting into like fighting games and stuff like that and such. So even though like I know some people want to debate like it's not a fighting game and such though, but like at least with like the genre as to like what it's advertised as, like I'm
Yeah.
sure like people will understand like what I'm trying to say.
It is
Making that point,
100% a fighting game. It is, yeah.
right. So so yeah, no, like Melee that was also my everything at the time growing up and such though. But yeah, there's definitely plenty of other games that I played a lot as a kid, but I guess you guys could get the impression of it's like it's mostly just being like within the Mario family, and sometimes within anything that's probably just like RPG related or any of the sort that's like adventure like or just anything like party games and stuff like that or like rhythm and such. So like yeah, I was kind of into that growing up. So yeah.
Amazing. So my next question is just, so tell me, how did you get into the content creation universe? Were you a YouTuber or streamer first? And what inspired you to go down that route?
Okay, so I'm gonna say this right now. I have been told anytime that I tell this story, it is very unique. I've been told this many times that it's very unique, and especially as to like what my goals were at the time, how they transformed and stuff like that. There's a lot of like mysteries that people basically have described it, just going like, oh wow, okay, you had a big imagination at that age when this started. So let me just start this off by saying that when I started content creation, I was about like 13 years old.
Okay.
So around 13, 14 years old, around that time frame and such. And at that time, I was into this series that maybe some people are going to be familiar with, the Naruto Ninja Storm series.
Nice.
So I loved Naruto. That's basically like us to one of my top 10 animes of all time growing up, especially as a kid, and I still feel this way to this very day. But I was into that fighting game for the most part, or arena fighter, as many people like to say. But I've noticed that there was actually a player base for the Storm series, and I got into it heavily by Storm 3. So I was like, hey, hold on, I kind of like, want to start interacting and stuff like that here and there, like kind of doing all these kind of things. And then after that, like there were some content creators that like were really creative at what they were doing and such. And at that time, I was just like, I kind of want to start this too, but in my own way. So, and I guess I'll be transparent about this name, Edo Ninja Storm HD. That was the name that I actually went by originally. Now, as you guys know, it's just Edo Ninja and such.
Okay.
But essentially, I was a competitive player at that time for the Storm series and such, but I also was like, as a content creator of like, giving my discussion videos, doing some commentary about like, some gameplay analysis and such. And like, anything, if I want to talk about the series of the lore, I usually talk about that at that time too and such. So, but even though that like Naruto was like the foundation of my content around that time as well, when I was around like, in that thought process, it's like, you know what? I love video games, and I also love things that happen within the entertainment industry and such. So it's like, from that age, I will say this right now, and we will talk about this later tonight, but I actually did plan out the birth of the Phantom Visionaries from that long ago.
Wow, really?
Long ago.
That is impressive. Wow.
Yes. So essentially, like, because that many people were asking me as to like, what do I want to do when I grow up and stuff like that. And you know what? I was kind of like, I like the authenticity of as to how some content is produced these days and such. And especially as to like how people kind of do it in the most unorthodox way. Basically some very, very unique maneuvers and like not your conventional type of way as to like how you grow big within, this kind of entertainment or like the video game field, whatever that you want to call it. But it was from that long ago that I actually wanted to start something as big as to what, my baby, the Phantom Visionaries, short for PV essentially. A lot of people like the short term for PV, the acronym for it. But so yeah, no, so it was something that I'm like, okay, part of my plan, yes, as to like, my Edo Ninja alias and such though, but like Phantom Visionaries is the ultimate end goal for what I want out of my life, and that is my everything. So I planned it from that long ago.
Amazing.
So I will talk about as to more of the process as to, like, you know, how we got there, but like what I wanted and like what I was so dead set for, it was basically around that time frame and such. And, you know, of course I had my detours. Of course I had my little, like, you know, wanderer adventures and stuff like that though. But I will say, like, around that time frame and such, it's like Naruto's gonna be my foundation. But whatever I go through, whatever that I decide to dive into, that's gonna be my journey, and that's gonna be part of like me building Phantom Visionaries, essentially. So yeah.
Wow, that was a great answer. Thank you, man. Now, my God, you've been cooking since that long ago. That is super impressive. I like that, man. That is that's a coming of age tale right there. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you.
It's awesome because my next question was the story behind your username, but you've already answered that. So we'll move on to the next question. So
For sure.
tell me how you because you at one point how did you get into like streaming on Twitch and stuff, and like how would you say your streams were then than they were now?
Oh, oh man. I know there's a couple of you in chat. If you know, you know. So, let me just start by saying this, for streaming and such. So this is at the time that I started to already start producing Kingdom Hearts content. That was basically like my next main bread and butter after the Naruto Storm series.
Yeah.
So essentially for streaming and stuff like that, it's because like around with like, you know, the Kingdom Hearts community and such, and especially with like, you know, the popular names of the content creators that some of you guys might know to this very day. Well, my name around the KH community, it started already to kind of like spread around, because even though like I just came from the Naruto Storm community and I was like slowly like dropping my content for it and such, and then like started diving into Kingdom Hearts and such, like everyone kind of already like took a glance at me. They're like, who the hell is this kid? Who is he? And such. And of course, the one thing that many people were like very intrigued by was my editing skills. That was the one thing that everyone was like super drawn into and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I basically used that talent of mine to kind of like, you know, mesh myself well in within the community, and like, you know, so with some, you know, peers, content creators of the sort and stuff like that. And at that time, like, live streaming was becoming like a big thing, especially within the Kingdom Hearts community and such. And of course, like with the creators and stuff like that, they had this like this very famous thing that everyone loved going to, which was PAX East. So it was basically my transition from doing content creation just a little bit, going to streaming, to basically start to raise funds to go to PAX East around that time frame. And that was like around the range of 2015, 2016. So for how things came about from then to now, not what I expected, because I stopped making videos, which I had my other reasons as to why I stopped making videos on that regard, but I didn't realize as to how much people were really invested into my streams and stuff like that. So at that point, like, I used to beat myself up about it, because it's like I love the effort into making videos and such though, but streaming, like, in a way, it's less effort than making videos and stuff like that. But at the time, it also was a better way to connect with my community that I was growing at that time.
Yeah.
So I decided to kind of like rock with it, roll with it and stuff like that. And like, you know, when it comes to videos and stuff like that, like, it started to have a decline over the years and such. And do I miss it? Oh, absolutely. Yes, I do. But at the same time, I don't know how else I could be more, how would I put it, real and very authentic towards to my community, especially to know like what's actually going on with me, what is my thought process as to like how I put myself out there in my videos, and, you know, versus as to what you see in me of streams here and there. So which now I'm going to get to that point, which essentially as to like, what are the Edo Ninja streams now? So, a couple of my community members and such, and, you know, friends, family and such, they could definitely yap about this if they want to in the chat. But the one thing that's very famous in my streams is Tea Time. Tea Time with Edo Ninja.
Tea Time, okay.
Which, that's the part where I kind of just talk about the craziest things that happens in my life, and I wish some of those stories that I've told, I wish I was lying. I wish I was making it up. Sometimes I even wish I was exaggerating it. But what I tell on those streams are word for word, bar for bar, everything that happens 100% the truth. And even though sometimes it's hard for people to believe, well, unfortunately, some people in the chat are there as witnesses or even have seen the receipts of those kind of tea times that I usually tell in those streams. And people are just like, oh my God, you weren't kidding. So, and it's another thing that I'm definitely gonna get into later, but I gave myself the title, A Boy with Many Stories. It actually has a lot of meaning to it more as time goes by. But I realized because as to the situations that I find myself in, and especially as to like how my stories are being developed, and especially as to like what keeps my streams entertaining. And like, the worst part is that like, even though I am using it like as entertainment, it is still the truth. That's the crazy part. And I don't mind sharing that because it's just like, well, I am a businessman and I am going to be having to make very harsh decisions and such, especially as to like, you know, as to what you are used to towards to CEOs or like any kind of like managerial positions for like, you know, big time companies and such. I kind of understand it and I wish I could talk about it, but I can't talk about it. But the stuff that I do talk about in my tea time, you'll still know that my heart is still there. Maybe it might look asleep. Maybe it might look like I'm dead because I'm tired as fuck. But that's the only way that you'll be able to know that it's like, well, the little boy that wants a big thing and a huge change within the entertainment industry, he's still there. And he is still going out and about to making everything in his power to make sure that that happens. So that's something that I would like to shed some light on towards to when it comes to the nature of my streaming. So yeah.
Amazing. So were some of the names you were like kicking around like Spill the Tea with Edo or just Tea Time with Edo?
Well, there are some names that I wish I could drop. However, for some reasons I can't. Sometimes I might be able to because sometimes I just don't care.
Yeah.
But I will say like whatever happens, like, you know, when I'm going outside or what happens within the creator space that I'm working with or other creatives and stuff like that, sometimes they will be shared. So, and the one thing that I will say, and like, I'm going to be honest with, about this, I always keep my receipts on people. So, if you don't like that, then my only advice I have to give out to people, don't show your ass if you're embarrassed by it.
Facts. Very good point. So, going back to your streaming days, what is the one game you would say gave you the best streaming experience and the one game that gave you the worst streaming experience?
Ooh, that's actually a very good question. A very good. I might have to say that there might be two video games that my title when it comes to the best. So the first one that I'm going to say are my Smash streams.
Okay.
My Smash streams were actually a lot more fun than now that I'm just like kind of like recollecting my memories of it right now. So like, cause I did a lot of Ultimate and the Wii U days of Smash content of terms of like live streaming. Like I even did like tournaments and stuff like that though. But like even then, like, no matter like as to like what's happening and such when it ever comes to the Smash games, they're usually always fun. I think that's like the most I will say that like I've had like the most like memories out of it. And if anything, they kind of have been my even Smash as a game. Unironically, even though there's like a lot of like dark rumors about Smash, or like not even just dark rumors, but like unfortunately there's just like there's dark nature when it comes to Smash, especially as to like, you know, unfortunately as to what you guys have seen sometimes or hear about it in like in the news and the headlines and such. But Smash has been a game that a franchise that I always come back to, that whenever like something horrible, something really bad has happened to me, somehow becomes my greatest strength in terms of to like a mental health recovery, into like even when it comes to content production, the designs that I usually make and such. Like for some reason, like it's become like a huge foundation as to what I've become to today. So what I've noticed within those streams and such, like I've noticed I've always made the best memories. Yeah, there might be some heated moments here, stuff here and there though, but like I don't remember those times. in comparison as to like how many great memories that I made when it comes to those Smash games that I've had. So that's one thing that I will say. The one game that I will or franchise I would put it as to like making good memories with with streaming. The other one that I will give it to unironically has been I don't know if I'm allowed to say the franchise again as well. But to go off by that for what I just said earlier with Smash, I will also have to say the Persona series.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Specifically with 5, I will say, because 5 was the most that I streamed in terms of like Vanilla, Royal, Strikers, and Tactica. I will say, like, to a degree, yes, Persona 3 Reload as well, but because of Persona 5, it's like part of my main identity as to what I am as of right now. That's where I will say, like, there was a lot of conversations and a lot of like tea times that I've had during those Persona streams and such. And it's because that, like, if you guys are not familiar with it, or if you are, well, Persona, especially specifically for Persona 5, they tackle a lot when it comes to like real life issues, situations, scenarios of the sorts, and especially like very personal that like they tackle it at its core. They don't hold back on that. So because that there was a lot of conversations and a lot of like story developments that way, it was also the way as to how I was able to like kind of connect with my viewers. I'm just like, okay, chat, hold the fuck up. I need to talk about this moment because this reminds me of this one time that I had to deal with this asshole over there, and everyone was just like, what's the tea? Hold on, whoa. What are you talking about? You actually relate to this, or like you know something about this? I'll be like, so you know, going further into that, and it's usually I would be sitting there talking for about like an hour, maybe 2 hours sometimes, because it's that long of that kind of tea time and such, and especially people have their questions and such. And, you know, people, I even also enjoy having people like share their experiences with me as well. So in that way, it's like those conversations actually lead to something like kind of like deeper and meaningful. So it's like, oh my God, yeah, I can't turn away from that, because like part of it is what turned into Tea Time with Edo today.
Okay.
But also of the fact that it's like, you know what? I've had great conversations with these people. I've had like, even with like new viewers that just come in and stuff like that, or even when I get raids and such, like people are just like, wait, what's going on here? Like, well, why is the conversation so serious and stuff like that? So I'm just like, yo. So let me tell you a little bit about what happened here. So a little bit of chisme here and there. So that's something that I will say that I have enjoyed doing when I've had those Persona streams. The bad memories, in terms as to like what's been the worst game to stream. I might go on a little bit of a detour, but I'll try to stay on topic for this though, because it all connects. I'm gonna just tell you this right now. It all connects. So I'm sure some of you chat members know this. I'm sure it's really obvious, but if it isn't, the game that has been awful for me to stream, and especially the memories that have been made, has been the Kingdom Hearts franchise.
I knew it. Yeah. I figured,
has been Kingdom Hearts franchise 100%.
Yeah.
And I've streamed some ugly games before. I've streamed Life is Strange. I streamed Undertale. And they've had some crazy backgrounds when it comes to, like, you know, people coming into streams telling you what to do. Or, you know, basically people, like, spoiling the story ahead and stuff like that and such. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Out of all those crazy scenarios that I've taken within those streams, I'd rather take that than what I've had to deal with the Kingdom Hearts content at that time.
Oh boy, what year? What was this?
2016 to 2017. So it was 2 years.
Gotcha.
2 years.
Wow, we are still waiting for a 3. But it's funny because this next question is actually regarding kind of, I guess, Kingdom Hearts, but like going back to what you said about Smash Bros. Edo, if you were in charge of what character gets into the next Smash game, who would it be and why? Like, what character do you want in Smash Bros. And why?
Ooh. Now, see, this is unfair because I have a lot of characters that I still want. However, I will say this: I already got my wish. I'm sure it's very clear when I say this. I already got my wish, and that was Joker from Persona 5. Woo! I already got my dream character, and he has Arsene. So that was a win. But if I had to detour from that, a little bit hard because there's some characters within history that's like worthy to be part of the Hall of Fame of Smash. So, ooh, if I had to pick one, oh man, I don't know, cause like I played a lot more JRPGs over the years and such, and especially the games that I missed out growing up. And I'm just like, damn, this would actually be great for Smash. But I guess just to cut to the chase and just to like kind of just pick out from one of my top 5. I don't think a lot of people are going to be expecting this one, but I would have to say the main character of Hi-Fi Rush, Chai.
Whoa,
I would have to say
I
him.
like that. I like that. I like that. He would fit perfectly in Smash Bros. I like that actually.
I'd say this is because that like, especially for like a game that was shadow dropped, he also made insane history with the kind of background as to like what the game cooks, as to like, you know, like basically like a Devil May Cry like kind of game, but like, you know, in a rhythm sense. It's like that has not been done before, and it was very innovative, and it's like the very start of it. So I feel like for a character like him, he deserves to be a part of Smash 100%. I will not debate with anyone that thinks otherwise, but it's like, if you play the game and if you've seen like his moveset and it's like what he's able to do and stuff like that, it's like, why would you not want this character, especially as to like how perfect what the game comes from and like the art style of it as well too. It's like it works perfect with it.
Perfectly.
So it's like, why wouldn't you want Hi-Fi Rush to be a part of Smash? So that's what I have to say to that.
Now, what makes me excited, and hi, BitCloud Gaming, what's up, buddy? What makes me excited is just imagine the gameplay for him in Smash Bros. Like, you would still have to time it perfectly with the rhythm. You know what I mean? So that is actually really exciting. I like that. Now, what out of all the Smash characters reveal besides Sora, which one would you say was like the biggest surprise for you? Like you're like, oh my god, they got him into the game. Like who was out of that one character for you personally? And besides Ninja also.
Okay, so well that's a tough one because well, I'm sure one of them is pretty obvious. Once again, I'm sure it's very obvious. But if I have to say it out loud, if people cannot tell, yes, I don't think anybody was expecting Joker for Persona 5. I definitely wasn't. But it was the most happiest that I would have been in a long time. So, yeah. So
Did you actually
I got my wish on
stream?
that one. Okay, so let me talk about that a little bit. Okay, so I remember I was in a voice chat with a few friends of mine watching the Game Awards, and literally, we were passing out. We were so dead because we did not care what was going on at the Game Awards because it was just a bunch of sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember what the hell was going on. I just did not give a flying fuck of what was going on. But all I know was that there was gonna be something like, you know, Smash related that might drop there, especially that like the Game Awards was happening the night before Smash Ultimate was officially released to the public. So so that was like the main premise as to why I was watching, but at the same time, like it also could have been a rumor. So I was like, it's worth sticking around for, but like we were watching for so long. I think it was like already like 2.5 hours that we were in.
Yeah.
And I just remember like I was so dead. I was barely keeping awake and stuff like that. And I almost closed the stream. And my friend was just like, yo, we might as well just go to bed. We'll play Smash tomorrow and stuff like that. And then like the lights queued out. We saw the red. And I saw the Phantom Thieves logo, and I was just like, huh, whoa, wait, I'm awake. Hold on. My favorite game is on. Everyone shut the fuck up. So I was awake at that point, like my eyes widened so quickly, and I didn't know what else to expect. I don't know if it was gonna be like a sequel. I didn't know if it was gonna be like Royal that was gonna be like announced at that time, even though it would have been too soon and such. I didn't know what to expect. So seeing the Smash envelope just made me like, I couldn't go to bed.
Explode.
I could not go to bed. Even though no matter how tired I was, I'm like, nope. I am awake. I am here. I am freaking out. A dream come true is here. I didn't know. I don't care how good or how bad he was going to be. He's in the game. He's part of the Hall of Fame. I win. That was my big thing. So I didn't scream at that time. And it's probably just because I was like still like just coming to terms of like, oh my god, Persona's in Smash now. Joker is in Smash. What the actual fuck? So like, I'm kind of just like still waking up at that time frame though. So Joker is that contender, but if I had to put him out of the equation, I think the one character that made me still say, what the fuck, how, is Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII.
That's my second favorite reveal trailer, man. I go back and rewatch it all the time. It's so fucking good. But in terms of characters that I want in Smash Bros, I would love to see Kratos in Smash Bros. That's really all that's really all I want. Like, I have Sora, cool, but next up for me would be Kratos. Although I feel like Nintendo and Sony don't really get along, even though Sony's producing the Zelda movie, so maybe they are, I don't know. But I feel like a more realistic option would be Crash Bandicoot. Like, why isn't Crash in Smash? Crash for Smash, bro. Seriously, hashtag Crash for Smash.
Well, see, now that you mentioned that, so then I will have to give out to my runner-up that I had to talk about now, since you opened that up. If we're gonna invite Crash Bandicoot, then I want to see Spyro in Smash.
Yes. People would love that. All of the above, yes. So now
there's plenty of characters.
For sure. Now let's get to the topic that everyone's been waiting for. Let's talk about Kingdom Hearts, because we are about to offend everybody, and I'm here for that. So, Edo. Yeah, so Edo, tell us about the happier times you've had with Kingdom Hearts, like how you discovered it, and your experience playing Kingdom Hearts 3 for the first time. We'll get to the spicy stuff afterwards, I promise.
Damn. I forgot I had happy memories of that game. They do exist, but I just actually had to take a moment to think about that, because I'm just like, oh wow, I have happy memories? I did? Well, that's crazy. Well, but now that I remember it, so let's start this off a little bit slow here, real quick. So let's start off with me just as to me getting into Kingdom Hearts. I guess I think that's like the best place to start, if any. So I will say this is pretty simple as is, actually, as to how I got into it, because my eldest sibling, she had a Game Boy. And she did own Kingdom Hearts 1 at that time, but like I didn't see her play Kingdom Hearts 1 at that time. But I did watch her play Chain of Memories on the Game Boy. And I didn't know what the hell was happening, but it looked very, very interesting to me, to the point to where like I actually like, she got mad at me for it though, but like sometimes I would sneak into her room, grab that game cartridge, put it into my Game Boy, start my game and such and stuff like that. So I had a lot of times doing that. She caught me eventually, of course. But I just got really into it and stuff like that. And then like I didn't know that she had KH1 and 2 on the PS2 at that time. So at that point, it was just a matter of time of me like just like getting into like the franchise at full. So I will say, like, at least as to when I was a kid at that time, especially with like around with my family, I think it was like a much more easier time for me as a kid, because I really enjoyed Kingdom Hearts at that time, and such, especially with the combination of Disney. And growing up, I was a big fan of Mickey. I loved Mickey growing up. I was a Mickey boy. So so seeing that always like maybe just like, oh, ooh, haha. So there was that. So it was a much more simpler time and such, and like, you know, I did everything, and you know, did what I could within those 3 games, 1, 2, and Chain of Memories at that time, and of course 358 over 2 days. But after 358 over 2 days, I had like a long hiatus over it, because like, you know, I had my life things going on, I had my other interests at that time and stuff like that though. But then I'm just like, I remember Kingdom Hearts. That was still a game that I still like enjoyed and stuff like that. Like, you know, I gotta go back and play it, because like the combat is just so satisfying at the time with those games. And then that's when I came to learn about Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, all those sorts of things. So I'm just like, okay, so now I gotta go all the way back and then just see what the hell I missed, and then go like, all right, who the fuck is Ventus? I thought that's Roxas. Why is Aqua there? Terra's bum ass face. What? Who? So So yeah, so I had my little journey and stuff like that here and there and such, and then like especially at the time that I was part of doing content creation, well, it's a perfect time for me to kind of just revisit the series, anyways. So with that being mentioned, that was fun for me and such, and especially as to like the fact that like now that I'm realizing this, just talking about it, I think I had a much more enjoyable time just like keeping this shit to myself rather than sharing it as a content creator and such, because I've realized how much damage that has put to me as a whole. And I wish I was joking and I was exaggerating this, but I'm not. It was a lot better that like, again, as a kid and just growing up, and it's just like, just minding my own business and such, playing the game and such, and not talking about this with anybody. That was a much more simpler time with me. But because I used to have like a huge amount of love for that franchise and such, and then like talking about it with other people, I wish I didn't. It pains me to say this though, but it's like, damn, like I feel in a way I kind of feel betrayed in a lot of aspects by the franchise itself and like what that game did to me and such. And part of it, I'm not gonna say it's entirely like the franchise's fault, but it's like, if I were to go back and not do Kingdom Hearts content, and especially like, just keep it the way as to how I did as a kid, I think I probably would still be around the franchise to this very day, rather than compared to like, me no longer part of that ride anymore and such. But yeah, I will say like at that time and such, like that was the only time that I would say that I've had like enjoyable times and such. And even like my mother, she would walk in anytime that like she would, bring me food and stuff like that, or tell me to do my homework, or like, do my chores and stuff like that and such. She always finds me to play Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that. And for her, like, I feel bad about this because like to my mom, it's a big core of her memory as to like how much like she might be playing the game and such. Like there was even a time that like before I started being committed to playing Kingdom Hearts, like when 2.5 was released to the public and such, I remember that I was so excited playing the game and such, and like my mom, her dearly beloved and such, and my mom was like, oh my god, like I remember that you were playing this like a baby and stuff like that, like this is the game. And I was just like, yeah, this is the game, it got a remaster and such, because I was telling her that like there was a game that I was looking forward to and it's gonna come back. And once she saw that, she was just like, oh my god, and she almost bawled her eyes out because it meant a lot to her. It is very wholesome, and like for her, it meant a lot to her at that time. Like it's like almost she grew up with me playing Kingdom Hearts 2. So so there was a time that I was playing 2 all night. I was playing that for all night, and I pretty much stopped right around to the boss fight for Dimix at Hollow Bastion.
Wow.
And I was done. And I already like made my save file and stuff like that and such. And I just remember I just went back to the 2.5 menu, but I never turned on my PS3. I never turned it off and stuff like that. My mom walks in 6:45 in the morning. She finds me passed out with the controller in my hand. I still have my TV on, and she could clearly tell that I was playing that shit all night, and I barely got some sleep. So I thought she was gonna yell at me. I thought she was gonna be like, you have school. I thought that was exactly what was gonna happen. No, that did not happen whatsoever. She actually like snuggled up to me on my bed and was telling me, was just like, stay home. You're not going to school today. Stay home. You can play your game. And I was just like, I can.
That is the best mom ever.
Yeah, no, literally. I thought I was dreaming. I thought like I was tripping. But I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, she actually said this. And I was worried because it was already 10 a.m. when I woke back up. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I got to get ready for school and stuff with them. I'm like, wait a minute. Who's going to take me? And then after that, like, my mom was just like, where are you getting ready? And I was just like, wait, did you tell me to, like, stay home? And she was like, yeah. Like, go play your game. Like, I'm going to bring you breakfast and I'm going to watch you play Kingdom Hearts. Yeah.
Aww.
Go put your pajamas back on and stuff like that. Don't turn your computer on. Don't worry about that. Go play that game. And I was like, oh, so that's how I knew it meant a lot to her at that time and such. And you know what? I was like, you know what? I've been dealing a lot of shit with school and stuff like that. I think I deserve my break anyway. So like, you know what? I just took advantage of it and such. And like, honestly, that was like one of the best memories I made. So it's like anytime that like I just skipped school and stuff like that, it was most likely just to play Kingdom Hearts and such. And my mom just did not complain. So
that is amazing. So how do we go from that to like fuck this game, never playing it ever again. let's get to that.
Well-
How did you have? Actually, no. How did you enjoy your time playing Kingdom Hearts 3 for the very first time?
All right, we did not get into that, so let's get into that. So I will say this, talking about Kingdom Hearts 3. So I think the one thing that I need to mention immediately to this is that I made an announcement on my socials, and I don't know if many people remember this because it didn't get a lot of traction at that time. And I was a little bit surprised by that because I was known for my Kingdom Hearts content at that time. But I made an announcement saying that after Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm done. I'm done. In terms of making content for this game, I'm done in terms of like kind of like, well, I don't know if I was gonna be like still part of the road to Kingdom Hearts at that time. I didn't specifically worded it that way, but I just said when it comes to content creation and such, or like any of that kind of sort as to what people like expect from me, anything Kingdom Hearts related, I just said after 3, I'm done, no more. If they do DLC, maybe I'll consider, but anything after, probably not, and I probably am not gonna shoot the game again after that as well. But in terms into enjoying my time with Kingdom Hearts 3, at first I liked it because I was just more mesmerized by like the Disney worlds as to what they were able to achieve with the Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
And basically the magic they were able to captivate within those worlds itself and such, especially with my favorite worlds, Big Hero 6 and Monsters Inc., Monstropolis. I was really looking forward to those worlds and such the most, and of course Pirates of the Caribbean, especially as to what we've seen in the trailers at the time. So I was more mesmerized by that rather than me paying attention to the story, even though that's something that I always do when I play a game. I always pay attention to the story. I really didn't do a good job at that when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 3 because I was just so mesmerized by the magic, the visuals, the soundtrack, and all those sorts of things. But the story I just ignored as a whole. So I did have some attention to it, but not as much. So like, you know, at that time I was like, oh my god, this was amazing. This is like so spectacular and stuff like that. Oh my god, what's gonna happen to Aqua? What's gonna happen to Ventus? Terra, Roxas. So I was just mostly concerned about that and such, especially as to how it was gonna end. So especially with the ending and stuff like that. Yeah, I definitely had some feelings. I did, but then I replayed the game again. And this is at that point I actually started paying attention to the story, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Actually, why did this happen? Why? Now I don't understand why this happened and stuff like that. And I was doing my homework actively with the Ultimanias, the interviews, going back to the games, the cutscenes and stuff like that. And I'm kind of just like, hold on. We did all of this for nothing. I just realized this. What the actual hell was this game? And then the more I start to think about it, the more I'm kind of just like, how did I give this game a 9 out of 10 and I said that it's Game of the Year material? Because I said that before. I did. And I will own up to that. But now that I played the game again, I'm kind of just like, what the fuck was I smoking on? Oh my god. I'm not happy with this. And like, I just could not find myself to just be like, this game. At first I started to excuse it. I was like, okay, yeah, this game did a couple things differently. It had a different like kind of way as to cutscene direction and stuff like that, or dialogue options and such. So I was like, yeah, like it's more modern because like, you know, making a Kingdom Hearts game for Square Enix takes eons. So I was giving them a pass for that though. But at the same time, I'm just like, wait a minute. But they also made 2.8, which had new content, the mobile game, Unchained Key back cover, and 0.2. And even though there was some skepticisms about those games, I still feel like they would have had a strong finish with 3. But then I'm like, no, it didn't, actually. We just wasted our time doing this. And I now I'm just not a fan of this Scooby-Doo chasing everlasting mysteries of, like, everything was supposed to be solved in 3. And you could argue, yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Because now, whatever issues that were not resolved or wasn't talked about with certain characters or of the sorts, now it's being dumped into this new arc that we're going into. And I'm kind of just like, what is all this? What is going on? What the fuck is all this and such? So it's like, I didn't know. Like, I started questioning. I'm just like, what mentality did I have for this game? And after that, like, whatever, like, good memories and, like, you know, foundation of what I expected of the game, it dissipated from my memories. The only thing that didn't dissipate was just my enjoyment from Monstropolis and Big Hero 6, because those are the worlds that I was just looking forward to the most, and no one could take that away from me. But other than that, everything else that happened in the game, I'm kind of just like, why? So, yeah, that's kind of, I know there was like barely little mention as to like my happy enjoyment with Kingdom Hearts 3 at that time though, but yeah, the transition started happening like in the middle of my playthrough, so yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, the big $1 million question is because I honestly, Edo, I do also agree with you to a certain extent, because when I first played Vanilla 3, I did enjoy it, but I had a lot of problems. So I get where you're coming from. But how did you how the fallout from the series? Like you refused to play it again, mention it again. You want nothing to do with the series. Cool, but how did it lead to that point? I'm curious.
Okay, so I'm gonna be very bold to say this, and I'm sure this part of the segment of this podcast is probably gonna catch the most flames, but I don't care,
Yes.
because basically I'm gonna put it into this kind of quote: if a man does not fear of losing anything and is very bold to showing off what he has in his cards, that is the man that you should be very fearful of. I'm gonna just say that right now. So.
Talk your shit.
Now that being, yeah. So that being said, I'm gonna open up with this statement. A lot of Kingdom Hearts, certain creators and content creators ruined it. By a large portion of it, I would say about 50 to 60% of that. The 40% of that has to do with the game itself, which I will get into. But to talk about the nature as to what I've noticed within the creator space that I've been involved with for a long time, that I think I have the right to say that I was one of the founding members as to what the KH community is today and such. Yes, I have, because I've made some stuff that a lot of people grew up with. So, yeah, I think I have the right to say that.
Agreed.
So, that being said, the community that I was building is not the community that I am proud of as to what I am seeing to this very fucking day. I am very disappointed as to how the community is. And I am just disgusted and appalled as to what goes on with with certain individuals that I have interacted with or have been close to interacting with. And among with all the other spaces that I have been into, I have not seen such pure, how would I put this? I don't know if animosity is the best way to say it, but I'm gonna just say greediness. Greediness is the one thing I will select for the community itself. Because growing up at that time, like when I was still a dedicated Kingdom Hearts content creator at that time, with the many characters that I was involved with at that time, I thought they were my friends, but they were not my friends. They were just here to use me for my talents or the connections that I had among with certain people. And unfortunately, I was basically part of their sick game. Some of them I was part of their sick game. Some of them I was just told that I was just a stepping pawn. And funny, because a lot of people, especially to some let me. I definitely need to rip this band-aid off of. Some content creators that you think, or creatives, or any sort of Kingdom Hearts fans that are known within that space. I'm going to just say this right now and be very bold when I say this. If you think that they have a halo and angel wings on them, I'm going to tell you this right now, there's a 95% chance they don't. Because I probably know something that I probably should not, or they've done something that not many people know about. But if they knew,
snap.
that reputation, that image would be tarnished.
Gone.
It will be gone and such. So, but my thing is the fact that, like, I didn't realize how toxic the KH community was at that time, growing up. Because I love to talk about the game. I love interacting with the community members and stuff like that, though. And there was someone that I used to be close to at that time, like, he was more community friendly. I wasn't. I really wasn't at that time, unless it was my own community. But among with the other community members, I was just kept at a distance because I like to keep to myself, to the best way that I can. However, but because of how close our relationship was at that time, I was thinking that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should learn an example or two from him to kind of just start to being a little bit more open, start to kind of like, interact more with the community members the way that he's doing it and such. And then I realized that everything that has happened was basically of me having initial thoughts as to why I didn't do it in the first place. And I was right. I was just too stupid to not to continue listening to the advice that I gave to myself at that time. So, but I'm going to say some things that are going to be very hard to believe. Trust me. Like I said, I wish I was lying. I wish I was exaggerating this. But I didn't realize how toxic it was at that time until certain people that I used to be very close to at that time had a certain kind of view of me that there had to be a demand that I had to stay within the Kingdom Hearts community. And I didn't realize how toxic it was until they said it themselves. They told themselves on themselves to me as to when I was on the journey as to breaking ties. And I'm going to go by two quotes that I still remember by heart to this very day. One of the quotes was to tell me that if I were to stop making Kingdom Hearts content or to leave the community as a whole, then I will be essentially making one of the biggest mistakes of my life and my career as a whole. And when I heard those words, I actually was appalled and in disbelief to recognize the entitlement. And that quote that I just mentioned just right there, that was the second time that I was basically brought to that kind of demand at that time. The first one, the other one, for him, he said that he doesn't like the fact that I break ties with people and stuff like that. And like, he basically begged me to reconsider because I had to think about him. I had to think about the whole community and stuff like that as to how things are going to change. And I'm kind of just like, yo, fuck the community. What about me? Literally, what about me? Because I'm not happy. I'm not happy being around with you. I'm not happy being around with the space that I was trying to build up. All for you guys to basically just slap that shit right in front of me. Like, you guys basically gave me the biggest colossal face because the figures that I'm sure some people could take a wild guess. There's one infamous name that a lot of people at the time that they did not fuck with the Kingdom Hearts community because unfortunately he mostly mistreated me at that time.
Oh, no.
But he also mistreated other people that was around him and stuff like that. I just happened to catch the worst of it and such. So, what I was so bothered by was the fact that, like, we all made this effort to basically get him away from the community because his behavior was so disgusting. All for him to come back a couple years later. To come back, like, as if nothing happened. Which I'm kind of just like, are y'all serious? Are we just gonna... So we're not going to talk about what happened. And I've noticed this, and it still happens within the Kingdom Hearts community to this very day, that whatever happens within that community space, and even if you were to basically like talk about us to like the very borderline or basically is criminal things that they've done, guess what? If they like the Disney game, no one gives a fuck. No one cares. Because all that is enough for some people within the members within the community is that they like the Disney game that everybody grew up with, essentially. And I cannot believe as to how much that kind of mentality has spread among there. And a lot of people tell me that I should be the one to forgive and forget. I'm just like, but the thing is that I never got an apology. I never seen the sincerity as to someone changing their actions and such. So the fact that these kind of characters was accumulating over the years that I've been dealing with this, and especially from like the everlasting demand of like, you have to make Kingdom Hearts content. You have to stay here. That's part of your livelihood. And I'm just like, no, it's not. No, it never was. It was part of my main identity at that time, sure. But at the end of the day, my goal was the Phantom Visionaries at that time.
Yeah.
And I realized that it was such a huge detour for me at that time that I've been told this by many other people. So, and what bugged me at that time, around my Twitter account from 2018 to 2021, I get people bugging me. Edo, when's Kingdom Hearts content and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know how people don't get tired of it. And you know what? Like, if you don't get tired of like talking about Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that or playing the game, more power to you. I'm gonna just say that right now. More power to you. But for me, it's like I was already trying to explore other avenues, which, you know, at that time, it was for me, it was Smash and Persona at that time.
Yeah.
So whenever I was talking about those other franchises instead, guess what? I still get hit up with the mentions. So when's your next Kingdom Hearts video? When's your next Kingdom Hearts stream and stuff like that? And I was like, yo, I'm sick of it, man. I'm tired of it and stuff like that. And I just cannot believe how bad it was. And I actually did a social experiment before. There was one time that I just tweeted out Kingdom Hearts, and I was baffled that it got 500 likes.
Wow.
500 likes and like 90 retweets and stuff like that, compared to like my Persona tweets and my Smash tweets at the time. And I'm just like, oh my god. And at that time, like, there were some people within the mentions that people were just like, oh my god. And I was like talking about Kingdom Hearts. I'm just like, can we not talk about the game for like 5 seconds? Like, can we be normal, decent adults real quick? Like, I know this is a Disney game and such, but can we be normal for like 2 seconds? No, we can't do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I was asking for too much, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, like within content creators, artists, most of the sorts and such that I have interacted with and such, and I've realized that some of them are in they're basically Disney kids, but in adult bodies that I have experience with. That just I have been disgusted by the fact that I even got to know these individuals. That I feel disgusted that I have shared my emotional vulnerability and essentially as to like giving my good faith and my belief into these people as to like I want the best for you, because most of these people that I have interacted with, the one comment that I usually get from them, and they can deny this as much as they want to, but I still have the Discord messages with the receipts and the screenshots. I was called their mentor. I was called someone that they look up to and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But whenever I show my human characteristics that doesn't apply to my talents, and it is just me as a person, even with my own mistakes and my flaws, guess what? I am now the crazy bitch. I am now the evil story of their main story, essentially. I am now the villain. I am now just basically just become this mastermind that is out to get people and stuff like that. And it's very interesting as to how much that kind of mentality grows and such. And I guess it's because, for me personally, like I said earlier, if you don't like me talking about my experience with you, then like I said, you better recheck as to how you show your ass in front of other people and stuff like that. Because it's like that shit follows you to the ends of the earth.
Facts.
So,
facts.
I'm sorry that I'm speaking my truth that actually happened, that you're ashamed of, that you don't want to admit. But I have the receipts here. And for me, it's like, I'm willing to put my bets onto my reputation and my career if I am meant to get the whole truth out. Mm-hmm. That is how I always roll things and such. So it's like, I don't try that kind of funny business and such, or try to do that kind of narcissistic, greedy kind of behavior and such of the sorts where it's like people want to take advantage of me and such. So yeah, I just stopped fucking around with that and such. And the amount of fingers that I have here, unfortunately, is not enough of the amount of characters I am encountered with that, unfortunately, that have ruined that kind of experience to me and such, and also deterred for me from making Kingdom Hearts content.
Gotcha.
So, going back to essentially for what people told me about, like, oh yeah, you have to make Kingdom Hearts content, and especially for that, for the second quote that I mentioned about like, oh yeah, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. I remember my final words to him was, you know what? Watch me. You just gave me the final push for me to leave. The motivation, everything of the drive. And guess what? As you guys can already tell, I've already had my high success without the franchise itself. And essentially, I started going back to being focused as to what I actually want in my life, rather than just being dedicated to making content creation for one game that I stopped being happy about. So with that being in mind, I was like, yeah, bet. Okay, sure, watch me. That particular individual, he contacts my friends because I had him blocked on all my socials. he contacts my friends saying, "Hey, can you talk to Edo real quick?
Oh
Like, I
my
want to talk to him about,
god.
like, yeah." So, and
Wow,
of course,
bitch.
he apologized, and he basically was like, "You know what? Even though you have me blocked, I keep seeing your name everywhere since then. I seen you in Smash, I seen you in Persona, I see you everywhere among with this, and I don't know how you did it." And I told him, I was like, "Well, you thought I'd be making the biggest mistake of my career and in my life, and I told you, I'm like, oh, word, bet? Okay,
Mic
yeah,
drop.
watch me. I'll show you." So,
Success is the
and funny
best
how that
revenge.
story, huh?
Success is the best revenge.
That is true, and
Yeah.
it's always keep proving within my story. So, how that story ended, essentially, he apologized, but he also was telling me, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't exactly remember how I interacted with you, so, like, tell me the things that I did. And I'm like, oh. Okay. So I told him. And he said that, like, at first he had a hard time believing it, though, but, like, he does remember that he was being an asshole towards me at that time. But at the end of the day, I told him, I'm like, look, I've seen how you are among with these spaces, and I've heard stories about you. All I'm going to say is that you as a content creator, even though you have your success, for someone that told me that used to look up to me, especially for the way how I had my talents, you don't impress me. You don't even have my acknowledgement. Because how you grew as a content creator, how you grow yourself organically, I don't take advantage of other people just because of their names.
Facts.
I don't do that. I match with anybody. I don't give a fuck what their reputation is or what their numbers are or what their status is. If they have a vision, if they have a certain kind of wavelength, that's what I care about more. The talent and, like, you know, with the kind of personality and their numbers, yeah, I'm not gonna bullshit you. Yeah, that's a bonus and unfortunately to a degree necessary for people's careers. Yes. However, I still look at qualities in a person before I start to work with them and actually, like, be authentic about it. Be like, oh, wait, this person has this amount of numbers and such. Let's take advantage of it. Let's do a collab. No, that's what that content creator did. And I'm like, you know that content creator is fake as shit. You know this person is a piece of shit.
Yes.
And I don't do that. I don't do that for my career. No, you cannot. You can bribe me a lot of money, but you cannot ask me to still be in the same person with or be in the same room with this certain creator and stuff like that. Because I'm like, no, I want to do what makes me comfortable and stuff like that. You'll just do anything to take whatever you can get in order to get the recognition from Square Enix or any other company that will favor you to your channel. No, I'm sorry, but that does not fit in my style and the message that I was trying to come across. Because I don't know where anybody got that for the past 11 years that I've been doing this, but that is not one of them that I do not entertain whatsoever. So,
Facts. Thank you, Edo, for that monologue. Someone should clip that and make a whole, like, scene from a movie of it. That was an epic ass monologue, man. It feels good to let that all out now, huh?
Oh, trust me. I spoke about this a few times, especially in my streams and stuff like that, though. But, like, to do it in someone else's space, and especially for me to actually talk about that, it's like, yeah, I know people don't like me, and especially when it comes to the Kingdom Hearts community, I know many of them don't like me, and some of them have their beef and stuff like that, and you know, like I mentioned, they'll say like, oh, Edo's this, Edo's that, and stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, so how about I make a deal? Drop the Twitlonger on me. Do it. Because I got the receipts.
He got the receipts. He's been waiting for this moment. Also, hi, Oath. How's it going, friend? So, next question is,
Yes.
last question regarding Kingdom Hearts, really, but what can Kingdom Hearts 4 do to reel you back in? Or is it impossible at this point?
Oof. So, I'm gonna give you, like, a straightforward answer with this. There's nothing I can do to bring me back.
Gotcha. Short and to the
So,
point. Next question.
Sure thing.
Yeah. So, now let's talk about a subject that you and I are both very familiar with. Let's talk about Persona now, shall we? This is... Where do we start, God? But, unfortunately, Edo, we are kind of running out on time, so I will shorten these 5 questions to 2 questions then. So, basically, what is your favorite Persona game and why?
Okay, so I've kind of dabbled on this a few times here and there. That is definitely a question for my chat and stuff like that. So it either be 3 or sometimes it will be 5. But to give you the definitive answer, I still will have to go to Persona 5 because
Nice.
that was not only that it was my introduction to the game, but essentially like it helped me grow as a person and especially as to like what my own personal branding is today, which I call it Project Fantasy Scape. That has a combination of basically Persona 5's aesthetics and The World Ends With You and such. So but drifting away from at least from the design aspect of such, I enjoyed the game so much that I replayed it more times. We're in the double digits now for my Persona 5 playthroughs. But essentially, with that game, it's done me so much, and it always like gives me the reminder of like, hey, you went through so much fucking hell before, and it's funny how things come around to a circle because
Yeah.
I do relate to that with Persona 5 in that sense. So because of that, it's like, and especially as to how I feel now to this very day, I feel like there has been like a huge of relief that like I went through all this and like everything ended the way that it should. So, and I don't have any regrets of it. Maybe to a certain extent of it though, but it's like to have this ending, it's like, well, you know what? I can press on forward. Yes, I have my trauma. Yes, I have my inner demons and stuff like that though. However, I will not let that define me. And it's my responsibility to take control of that and to do better. So that's what I appreciate from 5 the most.
Yeah, 5 was my first also, so it has a special place right here in my heart. My very first. I love that game. I've been loving P3 so much. That game is just, God, you know, it's freaking peak.
It's a beautiful game.
So regarding Persona 6, what are some of the things you want in Persona 6, and when do you think Persona 6 will come out?
So, I think the one thing we should get out of the way real quick, Persona 6 will be green. Yes. I think we could get the idea that it will be green. Yes.
Green?
Yeah, the color green.
Okay, gotcha.
Because Persona games, they have, like, basically, like, the whole main color aesthetic. Persona 4 is yellow, 3, blue, Royal was red, so 6 for green, I think it would be very fitting and such. So, in terms of its actual release, I do feel like we might get some information of it this year. But in terms of its, yes, I do think it might be that time of it, especially the fact that I think a lot of people have noticed that Alice has been a little bit quiet. And of course, there has been some murmurs a little bit about Persona 4 remake and stuff like that. I feel like, yes, that will be the biggest the promotion of it. Yes, let's say, for example, if it does come true, yes, it will be its biggest promotion. However, I do think at least we'll get some kind of teaser of it. Will I say it might be like a full-on trailer? I don't know. I don't want to be too comfortable to say that as of yet, but I will say, like, when it comes to like its actual like product of its own, I feel like we might not see that around at least 2027, 2028, around that time frame. So that's my little guesstimate that I'm looking for. So
yeah, imagine if P4 remake somehow like something in that game was a small teaser for P6. That would be mind blowing for real.
It would be, yeah.
I mean, are you necessarily mad about a P4 remake, or are you like whatever? It's fine, because people are like legit mad about a P4 remake.
I'm not mad about it. Like if they're doing it, it's like, okay, well, yeah, like I don't agree with it, but like if this is their way to like get more funds for them to cycle back into within the system for them to make Persona 6, then by all means, go for it, do it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's still kind of strange that we're getting a Persona 4 remake already, even though like we promoted the remastered games of it in 2022. We got Persona 3 Rela in 2024. And here we are with Persona 4 remake. We're probably going to get that later this year, or if not next year. So it's like Persona 4 is already like still like accessible and playable as is. So it's like, I don't know why we're doing this, but like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm still going to play it.
2025 code of paint.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, if they do it, they do it, but I don't agree with it. It's whatever. I can't be too bothered to like be too upset about it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Now, real quick, what are some of the things you want in P6?
What I want in P6? Ooh. Okay, so this might be a little bit of a hot take. A lot of people keep asking for basically for them to stop starring high school kids.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say this right now. Yakuza's right there. You can play that game instead. That's what it's for. For Persona, in that case, like, I'm not saying that, like, they can't drift away from that kind of setting before and stuff like that, though, but it's like, it is part as to what made their formula work. So if they keep doing it, I'm not gonna, like, veto against it or say, like, oh, I'm so tired of high school kids and stuff. I'm like, well, guess what? Like, we were also kind of, like, teenagers at that time, too, and there's gonna be more teenagers that are gonna, like, get into the Persona series and stuff like that. So, so it's like, I really wouldn't really complain too much about that, but as to what I want, it's really tough because it's like, I feel like I got a lot of my favorites within Persona 3 and 5.
Yeah.
So I will say, in terms of like the music, I will talk about that because I think that's the best way that I could tackle this. I want to give a shout out to Breton Boy and Vice because they dropped their Persona fiction project. And it's a whole album that basically has like the Persona songs as to what they imagine Persona 6 might be. So there's a little bit of flavor of Persona 3 as to like how they conducted their songs and such though, but a little bit more of like the reggaeton kind of genre. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but a little bit of that essentially. And I will say like for them, they made an amazing song. So I would say, or no, I'm sorry, album. But I guess for that kind of project that they did, that's like kind of like the direction when it comes to music that I exactly want. Just give me that. Give me a good story. And preferably, I would want this to kind of like center a little bit more around with teenagers in work environments rather than just high school settings. So if I would just say I think that would be a little bit more interesting to kind of just see as to how like these individuals grow and such, because we don't really see what goes on with the classrooms that much already from 5 and 3. To an extent, yes, we do, but we're more interacting with like the after school activities and stuff like that and such. And like when you go to work for 3, 4, and 5 and such, it's like to make money and such.
Yeah.
For 6, I want that to be more story related. So it's like where, yeah, these characters are being challenged as to how you adapt in a work environment, stuff like that. How do they want to decide to what they want to do in their lives and such. So that's something that I feel like that would be a little bit more interesting with Persona 6.
Okay. Now, what I personally want is I want to choose like the Pokemon games. Are you a boy or girl at the beginning? That's what I want. So you play the whole game as either boy or girl, and you have the option for queer relationships. That's what I want. If I play as a male and I want to like have a romance with another male or female, vice versa, that's what I want. Let's spice things up. 2025, let's do this. That's what I want. I'm sure, of course, people will be like, oh, well, whatever. Gay people exist. Fuck you. But how about you? Do you think that the fan base would accept that, or?
There's gonna be a lot of controversy around it, no matter what. Majority of it, yes, they will welcome it though. But of course, there's gonna be memes. There's gonna be like some kind of like dark humor jokes and stuff like that flying around and stuff like that. Especially with like making the claims that Alice is homophobic and stuff like that. Which, I mean, they're not beating the allegations when they're not making like the queer relationships and stuff like that, or giving that kind of options to characters. So me and my own personal opinion, I'd say I don't know what you're waiting for or what's making you stop. Do it because people have been asking for it, and Persona 5 is, especially for the theme of what Persona 5 is, it would have been the best game for it. But that didn't happen, sadly. So hopefully Persona 6 does it.
Yeah, it's like we want to spice things up. We can't do the same thing over and over again. Let's add new things, and having that would make new things. I feel like that's why they're taking forever to make this game, because the conversations for male and female and queer relationships would take forever to write out. You know what I'm saying? That would take a long ass time. So I like to think that's why it's taking so long. So, segueing away from that to our last topic, let's talk about the Phantom Visionaries, shall we? Yes, because I'm a proud fan. I have like I have commissioned y'all multiple times, and each time you all deliver and knock it out of the fucking park every single time. So tell us the origin story, the history of like how did you come up with the idea for it? I mean, I guess you already told us that, but like the early stages of creating this company into how it is nowadays.
So, the Phantom Visionaries. To talk a little bit about the birth of it, because I did talk about as to like for me actually planning this.
Woohoo!
Now that being said, to go into detail, I actually was not planning to start the Phantom Visionaries in the year of 2022. The only reason why I did was because that I was proposed a business plan that is basically like a backup plan as to like how things would come about that I just could not refuse. And at that time, I was an art director for an esports company.
Wow.
And I was also a COO for an organization. I'm just gonna say it this way: an organization.
All right.
A podcast organization that never really took off.
Okay.
And yeah, those ooh man, that's funny because those guys they hate me to every fiber of my being, which is so funny. Which to go for a little bit further about that. Essentially, like I've seen as to like how things are within the entertainment industry and such, and I've seen like how creators conduct themselves and stuff like that. And it's like, I know I cannot be the world savior. I know I cannot be that way, but it's like if I have the chance to kind of change around as to how content is presented, and if especially that like I'm trusted within a managerial position, and especially from like a creative as a heart, especially for being super knowledgeable in these things, it's like I can at least make a difference within the world that everyone's been trying to fight in order to have better opportunities and better possibilities within the entertainment industry. So when I was proposed with that plan from my co-founder, I could not say no to it. So at that time, I already left the esports company, and the only thing that I had to do was to kind of wash my hands and kind of just ensure that I did not leave any regrets behind within the podcast company that I used to be a part of that would actually end up start to become my rival. But unfortunately, they were not so happy that I left because they're very convinced by the narrative that I convinced everyone to leave them because that company, I'm gonna just say this right now, tea time a little bit real quick. That company had 10 people, and after I left, they ended up to being 3.
Wow.
So, yeah. So there, that kind of just shows as to how much of an influence that I had because a lot of people, they loved my leadership and they loved as to how engaging that I was compared to the other members that the CEO brought on. They were idle. They were not doing anything. So I was like, okay, so like, why are they here? Like, I'm sorry, like they're going through life stuff, but it's like respectfully in a business setting, why are you here? I can help you, but if you can't let me help you, then there's nothing for me to talk about.
Yeah.
So they made a whole dedicated podcast, basically bashing on my name and stuff like that, which yeah, nobody cares. So with that being mentioned, I thought it was funny because they told me that I was going to regret this. They said that I was going to fall. They said that basically I'm going to fall on my own ass and stuff like that. And they said they're going to be better off without me. So yeah, we started in 2022 and we're now in 2025. And I'm sure if you guys check out the Phantom Visionaries website and such, you can see that now the high profiles and the partners that we work with and such. And there's some partners that I wish I could talk about, but I'm under NDA, unfortunately. But we made a lot of success within 3 years. I'm gonna just say this right now for my startup. It's actually impressive that we managed to get this far. And compared to the podcast company that I was with from 2019 to 2021, they didn't have any growth.
Mm-hmm.
They had nothing. So so basically they said like, yeah, no, like we're gonna do better than you. You'll see. Well, newsflash, guys. That website is down. 2 other Twitter accounts are gone. They rebranded and still no traction whatsoever, no results, nothing and such. So dead found in a ditch somewhere. But it was just more of a motivation for me to like just kind of keep going with like, let's create content funny content, yes, but the aesthetics of it are very important because that's what captures everybody else. And unfortunately, like everyone's like attention span on these days, people like see on me, they see memes, they see a funny, they see a cute little cat and stuff like that. Yes, but I feel like we've forgotten as to like how visual identities that needs to be appealing. We've forgotten how super important that is. So that's part of my mission as to what I want for the Phantom Visionaries in order to like kind of grow within the branding packages that we do for clients, but also with the content that we'll be able to produce and hopefully soon in the future shows.
Well, I'm just like I said before, a lot of my viewers have seen the work y'all done for the Persona 3 project, and if anyone here is watching who worked on that, thank you. Y'all are fucking inhuman. I love it. I'm sure Edo told y'all how much I love it, but yeah, my community, thank you. We love it. And as my second to last question is, what, if you're allowed to say, what is like the biggest project y'all ever had to work on, as a team, the most like that required everyone's attention, and the guy paid like, I don't know, $5,000 or more. Like, it is the most like the biggest project y'all have ever worked on. What is it?
Oh, okay.
If you're allowed to talk about it.
I can talk about this one. Yes,
Cool.
actually. So, currently as of right now, I will say, his name is Agent X Spacely. He's actually the first ever Phantom Visionaries client that we've ever had.
Wow.
Truth be told, like, we actually owe a lot of our gratitude to him because, like, it was our first time that, for Phantom Visionaries that we started working as, like, a huge collaborative scale effort that, yes, we did have to push back a lot of stuff and a lot of content stuff like that, and unfortunately it took a lot of sacrifices, though. However, if we didn't do that package, then we would not have learned a lot as to what we did today. So with that in mind, like, it was a lot of combination of animations and especially like basically with like visual identity that our logo designer, his name is Schmerp, that was able to pull off and such. So shout out to him and such, and especially with everybody else in the Phantom Visionaries, Donnie, of course, everybody else that was just in there and such that I just cannot remember for the life of me as of right now, but I could just say, like, anybody that's in our website, they were a part of it, yes. So, but that being said, like, it was huge because, like, it's a lot, it was actually more a lot with animation work rather than, like, art commissions that he was asking for, because we did solidify the brand identity and such, and as much as that we were able to get out, like, the overlays that were being done, the biggest challenges were anything that just required, like, you know, any that you would see like in an anime like Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff like that, or One Piece and such. That's what he required for the most part, and to this very day, we're still kind of working on them. But like the branding package is like practically done that we haven't published out to the public. So I will say like it was our biggest project, and still to this very day, out of the which I know is gonna sound very surprising, even like if you see the profiles that we worked with in our website, Agent Spacely has been our huge, I would say, numbers when it comes to money and such that has been funded for this project and such.
Wow.
There has been one that has been able to rival that, but that part I can't talk about because that's NDA But in terms of like a project like management scale, he still like takes the cake off of that.
Amazing. So what can we expect from the future of Phantom Visionaries, like in terms of not just content, but like what is like some of the plans y'all have as a group on how to expand it, make it bigger, make it better, even though it was already amazing, but like what can we expect in the future for this company?
Okay, so unfortunately there is a lot that I cannot talk about with that question, but there are two things that I can bring up with that. Number one, I will give him a huge shout out to him because like for him he was a business partner, but now he's like a good friend of mine. He's now like become like a really, really good friend of mine now. Like now, like I now that like the way of how we talk and stuff like that, it actually means the world to me and such. And I didn't realize as to how like we came about, and it's still crazy. But the one thing that I will say is that look forward specifically look forward to the stuff that me and Paul Castor Jr. does. And if you guys are not familiar with Paul Castor Jr., he is the voice actor of Vegeta from Dragon Ball Daima,
Wow.
Fermine from Genshin Impact, Rinjo Kanade from Neo The World Ends With You, and Chocobo Billy from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I've been working with him a lot actively, and most of it has been going towards the Phantom Visionaries and such. So whatever that we both produce, look forward to that, because him and I, we kind of have been like, basically, he's actually like one of the best people that I've actually had like best energy with such. So that's one thing that I will say. Paul Castor Jr., he's been an angel, a blessing, and stuff like that, and I'm very happy to say that like he's like one of my closest friends that I have as of right now. And another one that I will mention, now this is a little bit more personal to me though, but this is something that I want to do with the Phantom Visionaries, and this kind of circles back to like what I said before in the beginning of this episode. A Boy with Many Stories. That is essentially the title that I gave to myself, like I mentioned earlier. And I actually do want to take that further within the Phantom Visionaries. And I am willing to be transparent about this part. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the content creators of Domix and Swoozy. If you are, I will say that I do want to produce a show of myself of that kind of format style, but a little bit different.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes. So with this kind of way, I'm willing to be very transparent about this, because we're still, for me, I'm still early in the drafts about this. But what this show would be about my life story and stuff like that, because people say that I'm literally an anime boy and such. Hell, I even have like the fucking hair and the look of it and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I have a lot to talk about. So with this, I don't, there's a lot that I don't have it all figured out though, but at least as to what I want, I do want my stories to be told as if like they're fairy tale stories. So in a way of fairy tale stories and such. And if you guys are familiar with the series called Ruby, of the way as to how they do their fairy tale storytelling, that's the kind of direction that I'm going to go forward, and to like kind of have like little bit of animatics and such with like, you know, with like a very nice visual like art style and such, and like you actually guys get to see as to like the stuff that like I went through as a kid, even as a content creator, and even some of the stories that like might come about in like in the present when that series launches. So that's something that I'm kind of like looking forward to. So like, you know, like, yeah, I'll kind of have my personal commentary here and there, but I will be just going like, so then by that time when I opened that door, I saw the worst thing ever that happened in my life. There will be times where that video will be portrayed within that animatic and such, within those episodes and such. So it is a very ambitious project that I do want to handle that with the utmost of care. But I will say that I'm sure that a lot of people are very interested to hear about the stories. I will also say this too. I will not be able to tell the stories in the way of how I've been telling it to my streams. So I will say kind of do expect the stories to kind of like be a little bit altered, but it will still be kind of like close to home as to like, yes, this is on like true like real life events as to what actually has happened and stuff like that. And of course, names being different and stuff like that here and there and stuff like that. I'm sure there's some people that probably would still be watching me and just be like, oh no, he's talking about me. Oh! Well, yeah, you're now content. Just like how you made a fool of my misery, I'm gonna make a fool out of your dumbassery.
Well, I cannot wait. I speak for everyone here. I cannot wait to watch that, Edo. That sounds amazing. So now we are going to wrap things up with the fan favorite section of the show called
Top 10 questions. Hey, you got the questions? Top 10 questions. I got the answers. Top 10 questions. Better get your answers ready.
Top 10 questions, huh?
where I will ask my guests 10 questions courtesy of Inside the Actor's Studio. So, Edo, are you ready?
Oh, okay, shit, I actually was not prepared for this, but you know what, go for it, shoot.
Yeah, so my first question is, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word, bitch.
What is your least favorite word?
Poop. I don't like the word poop.
I can relate. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Seeing my business grow.
What makes you upset?
Dealing with narcissistic personalities. Cannot deal with them. They make me super unhappy.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, that's a tough one. This might be hard, but like basically, I don't know if you guys have watched ASMR videos of like mac and cheese and stuff like that. Like when you're like stirring that. Yeah, I like that.
I like that. I like that. A unique answer. I like that. Now, what sound or noise do you hate?
I don't like farts or burps. I don't like those.
Duly noted, so don't fart or burp around Edo, please.
Yeah,
and,
I will judge you.
Pretty much. Edo Ninja, what is your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word, surprisingly, it's not bitch. I'm gonna just say that right now. So, I will say, fuck. Yeah.
Everyone always that's a go-to word, Edo. That's like that's one word everyone says the most, and it's pretty funny too. So, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Ooh, that part might be hard as a profession. I would actually. I mean, I'm already doing it though. But like, if I were to go something that was different away from where I'm at right now, I would just say, being surprisingly, I think about this a lot though, but actually being an actor.
I can see that 100%. Now, what profession would you not like to do?
A profession that I would not like to do, this might sound fucked, but I don't know if I could handle being close into, being, like, a doctor or a nurse and stuff.
Oh, 100%, bro. Like, I don't want a job where someone's life depends on me. I can barely take care of myself, really. So, yeah, 100%. So, last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
What I would like God to say arrive at the pearly gates. Tell me my enemies are rotting in hell, and that's all I need to hear.
One more round of applause, please, for our very good friend, Edo Ninja. That has got to be, like, one of the spiciest, one of the just, like, in-your-face, raw energy episode we've had all this season. So thank you, Edo, for bringing that smoke. Thank you. So how about
bless you for inviting me.
How about some parting words for the audience while I look for someone to raid?
Okay, rating. Ooh, man. Oh man, I haven't done raid messages like in a long time.
Some parting words for the audience.
Is it okay that I just mention? Well, you know what? I'll just say it. All I can tell you guys is look forward to the future of the Phantom Visionaries because more great stuff is coming and such. And I will say again, stay closest to like my socials, but mostly with the Phantom Visionaries and such because we are a powerhouse. We are the inevitable. So yeah, Phantom Visionaries for the win. That's all I can say.
One more. I'm trying to give you a shout out. Like, it's not letting me weird.
Oh wow.
What the heck, Twitch? Come on. Well, his username is like tagged in the description, in the title. Give Edo a follow, fantastic artist. We're gonna rate our friend D Empire, who's currently playing Expedition 33, which I cannot wait to play.
He's so real for that. I like him already.
Yeah. What do you want the raid message to be, Edo?
I don't know, actually.
Hire the Phantom Visionaries.
Hire the Phantom Visionaries, yeah,
okay,
let's go with that.
Hire the Phantom... I'm gonna spell this wrong, and I apologize. Visionaries. I know that's spelled incorrectly, sorry, but you go just to the correct version of that. But I will be back on Monday with more Persona 3 Reload, so stay tuned for that. But you have a good weekend, Edo, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.
And with that, I bid you all adieu.
Epic.
Oh man,